We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. The movement was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. We have been lulled into a trance. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
They want their weapons.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.
Let's listen to 2 examples of the Russian woodpecker. Okay, let's go to the second example. Example 2. Now, one was taken from a ham radio and one wasn't. Let's go to the one that wasn't. Let's isolate 1 second of it. So 10 to 11 seconds. Alright. The woodpecker was 10 pulses per second. So let's count the pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right on the money. 10 pulses per second. Russian woodpecker. Now let's go back to the original, the ham radio version. Okay, now let's listen to this real quick, this second clip. Now, I've got something to admit. This isn't the Russian woodpecker. The second one was. The first one isn't. Do you know what the first one is? It's your Wi-Fi. This is the sound your Wi-Fi is making. Identical to the Russian woodpecker. 10 pulses per second. I shit you not. The Duga radar is no different than the radar signal, and I said it, radar signal, that your Wi-Fi is putting out. This is Wi-Fi, 10 pulses per second, just like the woodpecker. Now if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's got to be a duck, right? It's the same signal. If I EQ'd these the same, you wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't know the difference. It's the woodpecker. Now, what did they have to say about something that pulsed 10 pulses per second back in the day? Well, let's find out.
Other clues are still hard at work. Most Tesla enthusiasts concentrate on his work with wireless and his experiments at Colorado Springs. They claim that this interference with shortwave radio transmissions is caused by a Tesla magnifying transmitter. The noise is called the woodpecker because it makes a little pecking noise 10 times per second. It's been going on since 1976 and it's blotted out radio transmissions on frequencies between 6 and 20 megahertz. 10 pulses a second is extremely low frequency. The woodpecker's been traced to Latvia. There seems to be a second transmitter near Kiev and a third further to the east. It's not jamming, it's too random, so what are the Russians up to? Andrew Mikrovsky is an official working for the Canadian government in Ottawa. In his spare time, he runs a group called Planetary Association for Clean Energy, PACE for short. Pace thinks the Russians are using a Tesla transmitter to affect the way we behave.
Now, the signals, especially the one that you see on the oscilloscope, which are magnetic only, and by the way, that's the Soviet signal, that happens to be something that can work on my brain and anybody on this planet at this time. Because it is the same frequency in the same frequency range, and it is also the same type of activity that goes in our brain. That is the terrible thing about the Soviet signals, the capacity to impose on the way people would, quote, think. This thinking I'm talking about is the thinking of being peaceful, the ability to be calm, the ability to rationalize, are all affected from a purely mental point of view by signals of this nature.
Now, if you pay attention to what he said signals of that nature. He didn't say exactly that woodpecker signal, but anything around it or resembling that signal. And here we have 10 pulses per second in our Wi-Fi transmitters, receivers. Once again, I can tell you that's the woodpecker, and anybody would believe it. People need to understand this. They are both 10 pulses per second. There's no debating it. So, what's going on? Is this why they want people to forget all about the woodpecker, that the woodpecker ever existed? They don't look back on it and say, hey, we should figure out what this is, because we're using it. And that's a no-no. Rational thinking, critical thinking is a no-no when you live in clown world. Now, here's the kicker. People might say, but routers don't put out ELF. Routers run on 2.4 gigahertz. And I had no idea. I really didn't. I never tested it. So just now, in the middle of making this video, I decided to check the router. And guess what? Guess what? Check this out. Here's a Wi-Fi router that you put a SIM card into, and it kicks out wireless. Let's see what kind of frequencies it's kicking out. 2. 5 hertz, 2, 14, 6, 12, 7, 1, 9, 8, 4, 18, 5, 6, or 8, 5, 6, 26, 9, 6, 11, 3, 25, 4, 13, 7, 9, all ELF. All ELF. Did the woodpecker ever go away? Well, if it ever went away, not for long, you literally all have woodpecker transmitters in your home. In your home, emitting from your cell phones, and you saw that it's not just pumping out 2.4 gigahertz, it's pumping out ELF. And what was that? What's ELF? It's the woodpecker. These are woodpecker transmitters.
10 pulses a second is extremely low frequency. Pace thinks the Russians are using a Tesla transmitter to affect the way we behave.
They've tricked you into putting woodpecker transmitters in your homes and carry them around with you. And it's transmitting ELF. Fact.